First up of the brand new dinosaurs is the Zungaripterus. This is a flying dinosaur, so let's open it up and check it out. So this flying dinosaur is pretty brightly colored. It's got yellow wings and a yellow body, and then it's got the brown on the very top and on the neck and on the head. You can see there's a bit more bright coloring right on its horn and right along its eyes and nose as well. See if you can open up the mouth. Yep. You can adjust the wings and you can move the neck around as well. And the DNA barcode is right there. Next up is the Moros Intrepidus. Let's check it out. This dinosaur is from the Jurassic World Ferocious pack, and it's pretty adjustable. You can see it's got a soft green color throughout most of its body. It's got some white and then the orange tail at the back. Let's see if we can open up the mouth. Oh, it's really difficult, but you can. And its joints are pretty articulated as well. You can move the arms, the neck, you can move the legs, and the tail too. Here we've got the Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor. Let's check it out. All right, here is the Atrociraptor. Just put batteries in it, so let's see what it can do. You can see that there's a button up top here and a power switch. Let's turn on the power and let's press the button and see what happens. Oh, that's interesting. So the body does move. It does like this little wiggling thing. If I put it down on the table, I bet it would walk. That's pretty interesting. I do love the coloring on this as well. It is a bright orange color over most of its body. It's got the brown on the top and a little bit of yellow detailing on the legs. It's pretty cool. And last of the brand new dinosaurs is Velociraptor Charlie from the Camp Cretaceous set. All right, another Velociraptor to add to my huge Velociraptor collection. And it's got an action button right here on the top for some slashing. Let's check that out. Looks like it doesn't work too well. Yeah, the slashing action seems like it kind of gets stuck a bit. But still, this is a pretty cool Velociraptor. It's pretty articulate with all its joints. I think this will look great with all my other Velociraptors. All right, let's dig into this giant bin of old Jurassic Park and Jurassic World figures. This is the 1993 Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's got a soft body all over. Its legs are made of hard plastic, as well as its arms are hard plastic that swivel. And this T-Rex has a chomping action. When you squeeze the soft stomach, its mouth opens and closes. It's a little old, so it's not working quite as well as it used to. This is pretty cool. This is a huge T-Rex. Here we've got another vintage Jurassic Park Tyrannosaurus Rex. This T-Rex also has a soft body, except for its legs is a hard plastic, as well as its arms again that you can swivel back and forth. And with this T-Rex, instead of squeezing the stomach, you can move the tail and it moves its head around. That's pretty cool. This is a super old dinosaur figure. This is the Stomp and Strike T-Rex. This is one of the older Jurassic World figures. And how it works is, set it up like that, so it's in the roar position, and then you activate the tail and it comes swinging down for a chomp. That is pretty cool. Here we've got a super special and pretty hard to find Jurassic World hybrid Indominus Rex. Let's check out the features of this dinosaur. First, with the arm, you pull that, then it has a chomping action. Second, there's a hidden button right here that when you press, it shoots out its spikes. I'm super glad I have this Indominus Rex, and I love the gold on the underbelly too. That is something you don't see very often. Here is another vintage Jurassic Park dinosaur. This is the Utah Raptor. You can see it's got the JP22 right there on its legs. It's got some huge claws on its feet that are adjustable, and you can move the legs and the arms. And with this Utah Raptor, you can actually pull the legs back to lock into place, and then there's a hidden button underneath its tail that you press to swing them forward. So it's like a chomping action when it's standing up. Here is a vintage Jurassic Park Allosaurus. This dinosaur has a hard plastic body all around, and you can see that some body parts actually come off to reveal battle damage underneath. Look how detailed that is too. You can see like intestines in there, you can see some bone on the part that you take out. And there's even other parts that you can take out too. You can take out part of its leg, see its bone and its muscle right there. And you can even take out part of its tail too. Let's check out that bone underneath. And it just clicks right back into place. Here is another hybrid dinosaur. This is from the old Jurassic World toy line. This is a hybrid Tyrannosaurus Rex. You can see those spines right on the top there. You can actually hide them, and the ones right next to its head. And then when you press this button right here, they'll all slide out. That's pretty cool. Plus, that button doubles as a chomping button. This has some pretty unique coloring on it too. This one back here is a Jurassic Park vintage toy. I believe this is a baby T-Rex, if I remember correctly. You can see it has some battle damage right there on the side. And like many of the other vintage figures that I have, its body is soft, aside from its hands and its feet. And it's got a mostly brown body with a darker brown spots and stripes as well. Back here, we've got a special edition Ankylosaurus. This one's pretty special because it actually has this additional shell that you can remove to reveal the normal shell. And look, it's even got some battle damage right there on the side. So this is pretty cool, and you just click it right back on. And this Ankylosaurus has an action as well. When you move this leg back and forth, you can see that it sticks its head out, and it swings its tail too. Here's another Jurassic World T-Rex. You won't see the JW tattoo on its leg because this one was colored differently. So this one is a red color with black spots and stripes all over. And it's got the chomping action button on its back too. This is pretty cool. Right over here, we've got another vintage Jurassic World figure made by Kenner. This is the Chasmosaurus. It's got that huge shield in the front. It's got the 3 horns on its head. Plus, with this figure, when you move the leg, it moves its head up and down for a roaring action. This is a Ceratosaurus with battle damage. It's got the red on the top with the black stripes, and the rest of its body is a light tan color. And it's pretty articulate with the arms and the legs. Plus, with the tail, when you move that up and down, it opens and closes its mouth. Here we've got an even smaller T-Rex. This is also from the old Jurassic World toy line. It's got the battle damage on the side. Arms and legs can move, and with the tail, you can control the head. You can go up and down, back and forth, and you can open and close the mouth all in one. Right over here is a big winged dinosaur. I believe this is a Pteranodon. You can fold in the wings, make it easier for storage, and it's got 2 buttons on its back. One flaps the wings, and one opens and closes the mouth. Here we've got a bunch of classic Jurassic World Velociraptors. I have a ton of these. You can see that these 2 are tan with the green striping on top. This one is a dark green with the black striping on top. And with each of them, you can move the arms and the legs. Can't open the mouth or close them or anything like that. But these are actually some of my biggest Velociraptors, which is pretty cool. This is the Ankyloranodon, and it's a pretty weird looking dinosaur. It's got a light color over most of its body and the bright red striping right on the top all the way to the tail. See, it's got some spikes or feathers or something like that on the top of its head, on its back, and on its arms, like wings as well as right on the tip of its tail. And with this figure, you can move its leg up and down for a roaring or chomping action. Here we've got a basic Jurassic World Spinosaurus. You can't open and close the mouth or adjust the neck on this one, and it is smaller than a lot of the other Spinosaurus figures that I have. But it's still got the same iconic coloring as my other Spinosauruses, with the red on the top, the white in the middle, and the green on the bottom, as well as the red right around its eyes. Next up, from Jurassic World, we've got a Dilophosaurus that is super brightly colored with orange and green and yellow. This is a super colorful dinosaur. Plus, with this figure, it comes with an action. When you move the tail up and down, it swings its head up and down. Over here, from Jurassic World again, is a Ceratosaurus with pretty unique coloring. It's got brown over its whole body, and then a light orange detailing on its back all the way to its horn. And the action button on its back activates its roar and its jaw. Next up, from the Jurassic World toy line, JP63, we've got a classic Baryonyx. This dinosaur is super thin looking, and with its right foot, you can move it back and forth to twist its neck back and forth too. Here is another hybrid dinosaur from Jurassic World. This looks to be like a Triceratops and Stegosaurus hybrid. Plus, it's got the battle damage right there on the side. This dinosaur is super bright with a light blue on most of its body and dark blue detailing on its feet and in the front too. And this dinosaur has an action. When you move the tail, it swings its head forward for a stabbing action. This one is a similar hybrid as the one we just saw, but with different coloring. You can see it's a dark green with some tan detailing on its body, with the same battle damage. I believe this is also a Stegosaurus and Triceratops hybrid, with the same stabbing action too. This classic Jurassic Park figure, I believe, is called an Amargospinus. It's got some bright red accenting on the top of its body. It's got some horns right there on its neck, and the rest of its body is black and tan. Let's check out the actions on this dinosaur. You can see when you move this leg, it activates those spines to go up. It also moves those spines on its neck, and it opens and closes its mouth for a roar too. So it's doing 3 things at once. I see a few more Jurassic World Velociraptors. Let's see, we've got the dark green with black striping. We've got a brown with gray striping. We've got a special one over here that is a bright green with red striping, and this one actually has a few actions on it. It's got a battle damage button right on its side, and the tail activates the mouth too. I think there's one more back here. Yep, here is another Velociraptor, also with the battle damage on its side and the tail chomping action. This figure is another vintage Jurassic Park figure made by Kenner. This is a Pachycephalosaurus. You can see it's still got the restraint around its waist, but when you take that off, you can see that there's actually some battle damage revealed underneath, which is pretty cool. And as you're probably guessing, since it's a Pachycephalosaurus, the action button that you press right here is for the headbutting. But this figure is so old that it'll actually fly off. As you can see, it's kind of broken. But that's still a pretty cool action for a Pachycephalosaurus. Over here, we've got some small Jurassic World Indominus Rex figures. This one's the smallest, so let's check this one out first. You can see that there's some battle damage on the side, and just like those smaller T-Rexes we saw earlier, you can use the tail to control the face to open and close the mouth, to move the neck around, and all that. This slightly larger Indominus Rex has battle damage as well, but you can open and close this one actually. And then you can just pop it right open. Plus, you can use the tail for the chomping action too. Here's a big dinosaur. This is from the Jurassic World Legacy Collection. This is the Extreme Chompin' Spinosaurus. It's got the green body with the red and white stripe. And of course, you can move the neck around and activate the chomping with the button on the top of its head. Here's an even smaller Spinosaurus, but this one looks a lot different. This is an older Spinosaurus figure from Jurassic World. You can see that it's blue along most of its body. It's got some gold coloring on its belly, and then the bright red spine. And like the small Indominus Rex and small T-Rexes that we saw earlier, you can use the tail to move the neck and open and close the jaw. We've got another big T-Rex. This is from Jurassic World. It's tan in color all over its body, and it's got the button on the top of its back that activates the jaw. Here is another vintage Jurassic Park Baryonyx. This is another super slim dinosaur again. You can see it's got the orange striping on the top. And like the other Baryonyx from Jurassic Park, when you move this leg, it twists its head around. Here we've got a super weird looking dinosaur from Jurassic Parks. This is a Lycanops. Kind of looks like a saber-toothed tiger in a way. It's got those huge fangs in its mouth, and the mouth is spring-loaded so you can open and close it. This is from Jurassic World, and I believe this is the Proceratosaurus. You can see most of its body is a light tan color with some gray detailing on its back all the way up to its face, and it's got the bright red right on top of its face too. Here is another Pachycephalosaurus, but this one is from the old Jurassic World line. And you can see with the tail that you can move its head up and down and back and forth. This is another Jurassic Park vintage toy, and it is, I believe, a Dilophosaurus. This figure is pretty small and pretty slim, but you can see those iconic frills right at the top of its head. Here are a few more Jurassic World figures. This, I believe, is another Pteranodon with wings that you can fold up or extend. It's got the action button on its back for flapping its wings. And with this figure, you have to manually open and close its mouth. There is no button for it. This figure is a Jurassic World Mosasaurus. You can see it's got the battle damage on the side that you can open and close. Plus, with this figure, you can use the front fins to activate the jaw. We've got some more Jurassic Park vintage figures in here. This first, I believe, is a Velociraptor with red on the top and orange on the sides. This other figure I have in my hand is a baby T-Rex. You can see with this baby T-Rex that you can actually move the leg around. You can see that it's broken in a way. It did originally come with a bandage that you use to cover that. But all in all, this is a pretty cool figure. Here is another hybrid Triceratops Stegosaurus from Jurassic World. It's got the battle damage on the side, and just like we saw with the other figures, you can use the tail for a stabbing action. Here are two other similar Jurassic World figures. Both of them have the tail chomping action. You can see this one is a T-Rex with battle damage, and this one is a Spinosaurus with battle damage. Let's check out those chomping actions. And last of all is the classic Velociraptor from Jurassic Park. Let's check it out. It's got the chomping action in the front, and you can adjust the arms and the legs too. Let's get started with this classic ginormous T-Rex figure. This Dominion T-Rex has a dark brown body with the black along the top. It's got the barcode scanner right on its back right there. And it's got a pretty thick neck and a pretty big head compared to a lot of the other T-Rex figures. It's got some evil yellow looking eyes. It's got a mouthful of teeth, plus the mouth actually has a throat, so you can actually fit some miniature dinosaurs in there. It doesn't have a stomach compartment, but as you can see, you could probably fit a few small dinosaurs in there. And the coolest feature of this figure is that it's got a button on its tail to activate the jaw, and you can move the tail to swing the torso around too. So it makes it look really lifelike. Next up, we've got a Megaraptor figure. This is one of my newest figures that I bought fairly recently. It's pretty awesome. It's got those huge claws in the front. It's got a red and a dark blue body. It's got some feathering detailing along its back and along its head, as well as some white detailing right along its face. It's got the barcode scanner right on its back. You can twist the tail. The tail also has some cool looking feathers, which is pretty unique. And you can adjust the arms and legs of this figure. Plus, there is a chomping action when you press down on its body. It's got some sound effects too. That's pretty cool. This, I believe, is the Majungasaurus figure. This dinosaur has a lighter underbelly, a dark green side, and the brown detailing along the top. It's got some cool ridges right along its head, as well as the super tall orange ridge right on the top of its head. And you can move the arms and legs of this figure, as well as swivel the tail around to control the neck. And with this figure, you can actually adjust the standing pose by moving its legs. See how it leans down when you adjust the legs? That's a pretty cool feature. Not that many other figures that I have work like that. And of course, it's got the button on its tail to activate the jaw. This wild looking dinosaur is the Ichthyovenator. This dinosaur has a dark green body along its underside and on its sides, and it's got the super bright green detailing right along its spine and on its tail too. This is a pretty unique tail. This dinosaur has a long snout with a bunch of teeth inside. And the best part is that this dinosaur has an action when you press down on its body. It does a chomping action. Here we've got a ginormous Allosaurus figure, but not only that, this is an extreme battle damage Allosaurus. I think it's the only one I have that is a battle damage edition. This Allosaurus is almost as big as most of the T-Rex figures I have, which is unusual for an Allosaurus figure, and it's pretty adjustable. You can swivel the tail all around, you can move the legs and the arms, and there's a button on its back to activate the jaw too. But the coolest part is the extreme battle damage on its side. You can hide it completely, and then you can spring it open, it's spring-loaded, and you can even lift up the ribs to check out the insides underneath. I think that's its stomach right there, and it's pretty squishy. That is really cool. And you can close it up and hide it. This is the Atrociraptor figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got the dark red eyes and the brown striping, which is actually very similar to this super colossal Atrociraptor that I have back here. Look at that, they're pretty similar. On this little figure, its mouth is closed and you can't open it. But on this super colossal figure, it is a lot more adjustable. It has those same dark red eyes, the striping all along its body, and this super colossal figure has the stomach compartment, so you can actually feed this huge figure smaller dinosaurs. This is the Rajasaurus figure in the dark blue edition. As you can see, most of its body is that dark blue-gray color. It's got some white detailing along its neck, on its arms, and on its chin. It's got some big old spines right along the top of its neck, and this figure actually has a chomping action when you press down on its body. I've noticed that they're doing this chomping action for a lot of the new Jurassic World Dominion figures. And I've actually got another Rajasaurus figure with different coloring here. This one is dark brown along its body and undersides, and it's got the dark blue just along the top and along those spines right there. It's got the horn on the top of its head and that same chomping action when you press down on its body. Moving along, we've got the Sound Surge T-Rex figure. This figure is a lot smaller than most of the T-Rex figures I have, but you can swivel the tail around, you can move the legs and the arm, and you can open and close the jaw manually. You'll see that the tongue and lower teeth are not colored though, which is kind of a bummer, but it still has a cool feature that when you press down on the button, you get some T-Rex sound effects. Speaking of T-Rexes, I've got this huge super colossal T-Rex figure from Jurassic World Dominion. This figure is ginormous. Check it out. It has similar coloring as the first T-Rex that we saw in this video, but it has some cool features as well. Since it's a super colossal T-Rex, it has the stomach compartment, so you can feed this dinosaur smaller dinosaurs down its throat all the way to the stomach. And that is pretty cool. Next up, we've got a Giganotosaurus figure. I believe this is the Strike and Roar figure. It comes with two awesome functions. The first swings its torso and its head around for that chomping action. And the second button on the bottom of its tail opens and closes the jaw for roaring. That's pretty cool. That's some pretty wild movement. Over here in the corner, you may have already noticed, I've got another Giganotosaurus figure. This one is the Super Colossal Edition, and it is huge, just like the other Super Colossal figures. It's got the dark green body with black detailing. It's got the huge jaw with some really pointy long teeth. And since it's a Super Colossal figure, it has the stomach compartment for feeding smaller dinosaurs. Next, I've even got some brand new figures that we're gonna open up on camera. This one was a bit damaged in shipping, as you can see. This is the Velociraptor Blue and Atrociraptor pack. Let's check it out. Here is the Atrociraptor Blue pack. You can move its neck up and down, you can open and close its jaw, as well as move its arms and its legs. And here is the super bright orange and white Atrociraptor. And this Atrociraptor has the same movements as Velociraptor Blue. You can move the neck up and down, you can open and close the jaw, and move the arms and legs too. And it's got the barcode scanner right at the top of its back too. This is the Sound Surge Carnotaurus figure. It's pretty basic in design and not a ton of coloring. It's like almost completely red. It's got a little bit of white underneath its chin, and like the other Sound Surge figures, its tongue and its lower teeth are not colored, which is a bit of a bummer. But let's check out those sound effects that you can activate by pressing this button on its back. Here is the basic Pyroraptor figure. This figure is a dark red color with some black along its tail and its legs, as well as some black detailing right along its face too. And on this figure, you can only move its arms, its legs, and its tail a little bit. Speaking of Pyroraptor, I've got this ultimate uncaged Pyroraptor. Let's open it up and check it out. Here is the uncaged Pyroraptor, and this figure is huge. This Pyroraptor has sensors all over its face and on its chin, so you actually can do quite a bit with this figure. There's a training mode, there's a play mode, there's a wild mode. So let's check it out and see what kind of sound effects it comes with. Wow, that's pretty cool. I think it's in wild mode right now, because it's roaring a lot at me. All right, now its eyes turn blue. Let's see what happens when I touch those sensors. Wow, there's so much you can do with this thing. You can even train this Pyroraptor, which it's not obeying me right now, so it's obviously not trained right now, but that's pretty cool. I could spend a lot of time on this figure. You gotta check it out for yourself. Over here, we've got the Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor figure. This figure is also battery operated. Let's see what happens when you tap the top of its head. So it's got some sound effects, and it can open and close its jaw too. That's pretty neat. Over here, we've also got the Rowdy Roars Dilophosaurus figure. This one is also battery operated. So let's check that out. And let's see what sound effects this one can make too. That's pretty cool. Here is another Giganotosaurus figure. This is the Sound Surge edition. So it's a bit smaller than many of the other Giganotosaurus figures, and it's fairly adjustable. You can open and close the jaw, and move the arms, the legs, and the tail. And of course, it's got the sound effects too. This is the Extreme Damage Dimetrodon. It has a light green body and the super bright spine on its back, and it's got the battle damage right on its side that you can turn on and turn off with the click of a button. Here is a smaller Carnotaurus figure. This one is dark green and orange, and it is pretty adjustable. You can move the neck, you can open and close the jaw, and you can move all the limbs as well. We've got a couple small Atrociraptor figures in here. Here is the classic white with brown striping Atrociraptor. And over here, we've got a light tan Atrociraptor with brown striping that's in a crawling pose. That's pretty cool. Next up, we've got an extreme battle damage Velociraptor. This Velociraptor has a white underbelly and sides with the dark blue on top, and the extreme battle damage right on the side that you can turn on and off. And this final dinosaur is an extreme battle damage Coelurus. It has the dark green body with the red legs, tail, and head, and it's got the extreme battle damage just like the Velociraptor that you can turn on and off. This is the Grab and Growl Endoraptor. This is actually the first of this toy that I have in my collection. Let's check out the features. First of all, it is very movable and posable. You can see that you can move its shoulders, its elbows, its legs, all over. But the coolest part of this figure is the functions on the tail. You can see that it has a button on its tail right there that it actually is used for slashing. And it comes with sound effects too. Plus, it also has a second button on the bottom of its tail used for the jaw. And finally, this Indoraptor has the tail that controls the front torso, like many T-Rex figures. So you can actually move it around and make it look super lifelike, as well as slash and chomp too. Hiding way in the back here, we've got a super colossal T-Rex. This is the orange and tan one. It's got the light underbelly. Let's check out those yellow eyes. It has a huge jaw that you can open up really wide. And of course, it has the stomach compartment, so you can feed it miniature dinosaurs too. Next up, we've got another big T-Rex. This is the Thrash and Throw T-Rex. It has a button on its foot for stomping sound effects. And the coolest part of this dinosaur is you use the tail to control the torso. You can get chomping, just like that, and you can also get a roaring pose too. Right over here, we've got a dark blue Suchomimus with yellow detailing right along the top. And it's got that huge spine all the way from the tail up to the top of the head. That is really cool. This dinosaur has a lot of teeth in its mouth and a very narrow jaw. And it has one action button on its back to control the chomping. Right over here, we've got a classic T-Rex figure. This one is also a light orange and brown. And while the tail does not control the torso or the head, there is a button on the top of its head to control the jaw. Next up, we've got another Endoraptor figure. This is the classic Endoraptor figure. You can see it's still very flexible and adjustable with its limbs and its arms. This figure does not have the buttons on its tail to control the arms and the jaw, but it is still a super posable figure and pretty well detailed. This giant figure is a Mosasaurus. I'm sure you recognize this even from the first Jurassic World movie. This figure is probably 2 feet long from head to tail, and it's got some pretty good texture on its body as well. You can see it's got the large bumps on the top of its back, and it's got the smaller bumps right along the side. This is the extreme battle damage Tyrannosaurus Rex. This T-Rex has battle damage all over its body. It's got some on its chin, on its neck, on its leg, even on its chest and tail too. It of course has that iconic orange and brown coloring all over its body. And just like the T-Rex that we saw earlier, it has a button on the top of its head to activate the jaw. This is the bright yellow and red Ceratosaurus. Check out that huge iconic horn on the top of its head. It's also got movable limbs and a tail, and there's an action button on its back to activate the jaw. Here I've got the yellow and gray Allosaurus. It has some pretty cool detailing right along the top, all the way from its tail to the top of its head. It also has some red right above its eyes, which is pretty cool, and it's got an action button on its back to activate the jaw. Next up, we've got a huge Carnotaurus figure. This figure has tiny arms in the front. It has adjustable legs and a tail. It has the classic clay red body on the side and a dark purple gray color right along the top. And of course, there's an action button on its back for snapping the jaw. This is a supersized Pteranodon figure. This dinosaur figure is probably 1 foot from wingtip to wingtip. It's got the dark blue body with the maroon and tan wings. There is a button on its back for flapping the wings. And you can open and close the jaw too. Here is the bright red Metriacanthosaurus. Most of its body is that bright red color. It's got some dark gray detailing right along the top of its back and some yellow detailing on the top of its head and its nose too. The limbs are pretty adjustable on this figure, and of course, the button on the back to activate the jaw. This is the Baryonyx figure. It's got the light brown body with the dark gray-blue detailing all along its back to its tail and to its neck, and it's got the reflective bright blue coloring on the top of its head too. I've actually got another Metriacanthosaurus in here. This one is like a mustard or like a dark green yellow color. Most of this dino figure's body is a dark green yellowish color. It's got the dark green detailing along the top of its body all the way to the top of the head, and it's got the action button on its back for the jaw. I've got another Baryonyx figure, but with slightly different coloring. It's still got the light brown body with the dark gray-blue detailing on the top, but this figure has the bright orange coloring right on the top of its head and its nose too. I've got quite a few Velociraptor figures in here as well. Let's see what we got. First, we've got the classic Velociraptor blue figure with the iconic blue stripe all the way down the side of the body. I also have the green Velociraptor that is in the crawling or sneaking pose. You can also open and close this jaw too. I've got this super bright Velociraptor with the bright yellow and the brown on the top, and this Velociraptor is actually one of the leaping Velociraptors. So the legs are spring-loaded and you can send it flying into the air. And this Velociraptor has a bit more subtle coloring. It's got a gray body with the dark gray-blue detailing along the top and some cool orange eyes too. I've also got a few winged Dimorphodon figures. This first one is gray in color with some dark maroon or purplish color along the bottom of its wings. I've also got this green Dimorphodon with the bright orange and yellow along the bottom of its wings. And on both of these figures, you can open and close the jaws. Next up, I've got a few Dilophosaurus figures, all with different coloring. This first one is a soft green color with the yellow and red frills. This one is a gray-brown color with some blue detailing along the back, and its frills are white and a green-blue color too. And this Dilophosaurus, the brightest of the three, is a purple and red Dilophosaurus, and it's got some yellow, orange, and red along the frills in the front too. This is a Herrerasaurus. It is a light gray color with some brighter detailing. You can actually adjust the neck on this figure as well as the jaw, and of course all the other limbs as well. Here is another Herrerasaurus figure, but this one has a soft green coloring with the brown detailing on top. All the same body parts can move, and this one actually has some battle damage on the side that you can open and close. I've still got tons of Velociraptor figures in here. This first one is another Velociraptor blue, but this one has the battle damage on the side. Here is another spring-loaded Velociraptor. The legs are spring-loaded so that they can leap up into the air, and it's got a bright blue-green color all over its body. And I've also got the leaping Velociraptor blue as well. It's got the iconic coloring along the side of its body, and of course, the spring-loaded legs for leaping into the air. Got just a few more figures in here. This one is the Protoceratops. It's got the dark brown body with darker detailing along the top, and a red ridge right along its nose. And like many of these miniature figures, the limbs are fairly adjustable as well. And I've got two more Velociraptor figures in here. This first one is a dark red with purple detailing along the side, kind of the same design as Velociraptor blue. And I've got another leaping Velociraptor. This one is a dark tan color with the brown detailing along the top, and of course, the spring-loaded legs. And last but not least, I've got another giant Pteranodon figure with foldable wings and the same blue body with the red and tan wings. Let's get started with the largest figure. This is the Indominus Rex figure. And this figure from Dino Trackers is pretty special because it is actually a camo Indominus Rex. Check out that glowing green color in its neck and in its body. Now let's grab the next biggest dinosaur, which is this Tyrannosaurus Rex. I just bought this figure, and this is the Hunt and Chomp T-Rex. It's got pretty cool, unique coloring. It's got a headpiece and a new attack feature. Now let's set it up next in size, right next to the Indominus Rex. Let's see, now next in size is probably this Indoraptor figure. This Dino Trackers Indoraptor has a reflective blue skin coloring along with its classic gold stripe, and it has a variety of attack buttons. And let's set that up next in line, next to the T-Rex. Next, we're gonna grab this Epic Attack Carnotaurus figure. This Carnotaurus has the iconic clay red coloring. You can use the tail to move the head around, and there's a button to open and close its jaw. But best of all are these buttons on the side for more sound effects and lights too. That's pretty cool, so let's set him up as the next biggest dinosaur in this collection. I think it's time to open up this new Dino Trackers Habitat Defender Triceratops. Now I think this by far is the largest Triceratops I have in my entire collection. This Dino Trackers Triceratops has mostly brown coloring, it has a lighter underbelly, and some accenting on the top of its body. It of course has some huge horns coming out of its head and a very large frill. So overall this is really cool. And overall it actually feels more lightweight than a lot of figures, which is interesting for how big it is. But anyways, let's put this as the next biggest dinosaur in our Dino Trackers line. Next up, we're gonna grab this Sinotyrannus figure. This figure has a mostly dark green body, but this has some bright green and red along its face. And there's two hidden action buttons. One has a chomping action, and the other button has a tail swinging action. And let's set that up next in line. Here I've got a really weird looking dinosaur. I believe this one is called the Bistavasaur, something like that. It's a pretty unique name and a very unique looking dinosaur. It's got a tan colored body and black with a little bit of red and two hidden action buttons. One moves its head up and down for chomping, and the other actually activates these spines on its back. Let's get that one next in line right here. Now let's go for this huge Stegosaurus figure from the Dino Tracker series. It of course has the tracker backpack and some really cool coloring, plus two hidden action buttons on its back. The one on this side swings its tail upwards, and the button on the other side here swings its tail side to side. And so let's put this one next in line right here. Next up is this Orcoraptor figure, a very strange and unique looking dinosaur. It has a dark green and black body with feather texturing on the underside of its body, and a lever action on its back for some sound effects and chomping actions. So let's put that next in line. Next, let's grab this Eocarcharia dinosaur. This dinosaur has feather texturing over its entire body and is a lot more brightly colored than the Orcoraptor that we just saw. And it also has the lever on its back for chomping and sound effects. And there it is, next in line. Over here, we've got the Dryptosaurus figure. This figure has a dark brown and gray colored body with tons of spikes running from tail to head and a slide lever for the chomping actions. And now let's put it next in size in line. And next up, this one isn't tall, but it certainly is quite large. This aquatic dinosaur is the Elasmosaurus. It's got a bright blue body and a super long neck, and two action buttons on its back. One moves its neck up and down, and the other moves its neck side to side and opens its mouth too. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and set it in line. Next up, let's grab the Regaliceratops figure. This dinosaur looks pretty similar to a Triceratops. It has the large frill in the front with some horns. It's got some sound effects, as you can hear, and it has a slide lever action on its back for more sound effects and movement. And let's put that right next to the Elasmosaurus. Over here, we've got the Diabloceratops dinosaur. This figure is bright red, and it has a light brown underbelly and a ginormous frill with some horns. And of course, it has a lever on its back for some sound effects and head movement. Here is the Nigersaurus dinosaur in the bright green and dark green coloring. It's got a super long neck and a super long tail as well, and the lever on its back for moving its head. And let's put that next in line here. Next up is this new Irritator dinosaur. This figure features quite a few different colors. It's got dark brown, light brown, some bright green, and some red eyes. And it has the lever on its back for the sound effects and chomping action. So let's put that right next to the Nigersaurus. Here is the Epic Attack Dilophosaurus figure. Now it's pretty small and you can't move the frills on its head, unfortunately, but it does have this cool button on its side, the lights, and a bunch of sound effects. This is a pretty cool figure, so let's put this next in line. Next in line is this new figure. I believe it's to pronounce the Piatnitskysaurus. This figure has some pretty cool dark blue coloring with some bright green striping along the top, and even some orange and red along its face. It's also got quite a few spikes along the top of its face and underneath its chin as well, and a tiny little spine running along its back. So let's put that right next to the Dilophosaurus. Next up is the Scutosaurus figure in the bright orange coloring with some dark blue accenting along its back and its face. And check out those interesting horns coming out of its cheeks on both sides of its face too. It's pretty cool. Set that up next in line. Now let's check out the other new figure that I've got, the Pristosuchus figure. It looks like this dinosaur walks on all four legs. It has a dark green body with some lighter accenting along its back, and then a brown face. Plus, it has an action button right here on its back for a massive chomping action. Let's set that up next in line and grab our next dinosaur, which is a Zuniceratops figure. Now I have an older version of the Zuniceratops, but this one has new coloring, which is the brown, the tan, and the black, and it has an action button on its back for a stabbing action with its horns. So we'll set that up there. And our last figure, although it's not very small, it's the shortest. This is a Kronosaurus figure. Now this aquatic dinosaur is dark blue on the top and tan on the underbelly, and it has a lever right on its back for some sound effects and chomping action. And let's set that up as the final dinosaur in our Dino Tracker's biggest to smallest collection. Let's get started with the biggest T-Rex figures. This one is a custom colored super colossal T-Rex. This is one of my most brightly colored T-Rexes. This one is super cool and will be the first on the right side. Over here we've got another super colossal T-Rex. I believe this one is from Camp Cretaceous. It has the bright orange sides with the brown on top and the lighter underbelly. So let's place this on the left side over here. Going back to the right side, let's grab this super colossal Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. This version of the super colossal T-Rex features some of the darkest coloring that any of my T-Rex figures have. And let's put this one on the right side. And for our final super colossal T-Rex is another custom colored one. This one is a light blue-gray color all over and has some bright red eyes. I think this figure actually used to be the same color as this one right here. So let's put this figure on the left side to face off. There are our super colossal figures. Now let's move on to the rest of the smaller figures. This T-Rex is the Terran T-Rex. It has a button on its back that you can use for a really cool tearing action. It swings its entire neck around and closes its mouth. And not only that, but it also has a button to swing its tail back and forth too. All right, what team should we put this one on? Let's put it on the right side team. Up next is the Hammond Collection T-Rex. This figure came out pretty recently. It features much more detailed coloring and texturing, plus you can move its body in all sorts of different directions. Now let's put this Hammond Collection T-Rex on the left team. Here is the epic Roarin' T-Rex figure from Camp Cretaceous. This figure is one of my favorite T-Rexes because of its realistic coloring, and it actually has a roar sound effects with vibration. That is battery operated, that's pretty cool. And we're gonna place this one on the right team. For the left team, we're gonna go with the smaller Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. You can see that compared to the super colossal version, it's actually quite similar with the black on top and the dark brown on the sides and the yellow eyes, but obviously just a whole lot smaller. And we're gonna place this one actually on the left team. This T-Rex is another custom-colored Tyrannosaurus Rex figure from Jurassic World, and this one features some really cool camouflage coloring all over its body. And you can even move the tail for a jaw-snapping action and for a roaring action too. Now let's put this on the right team for the face-off. Now back to our bin, what one should we grab next? Let's go for this bright orange one. This looks to be like a battle-damaged Tyrannosaurus Rex. It has some painted slashes on its neck and on its chin, as well as on its leg and its torso. And this seems to be a little bit smaller than a lot of these figures. And we're gonna go ahead and put this on the left team. Wow, look at that size difference between this one and the Hammond Collection T-Rex. For the right side, we're gonna go with this other battle damage T-Rex, but instead of painted battle damage, it actually has an activated battle damage slash right there that you can turn on and off. It's also interesting that this figure is a much darker orange than that battle damage T-Rex. And we're gonna put this one on the right team. Next up, we've got a larger T-Rex figure. This is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. And this T-Rex figure actually came with this cage that you put on its face. And once it's on there, you can actually break free from it. That is really cool, and it's probably one of my favorite features. And we're gonna place this T-Rex on the left team. Right over here is another super brightly custom colored T-Rex figure. This T-Rex is another fiery red color, and it actually has very similar design to this super colossal T-Rex right over here. You can see all those similarities. And now we're actually gonna place them on the same team on the right side. All right, the time has come. We are gonna check out this new custom colored T-Rex that I ordered, and I actually haven't seen it yet. You can see the tip of the tail right there, so let's go ahead and pull it out. And here it is. All right, it is another custom colored camouflage T-Rex. That is super cool. It's got the bright green on the sides and then brown and black and tan all over the rest of its body. And this one looks to be actually a battle damage T-Rex, like this bright orange one right over here. And look at that, you can actually turn the battle damage on and off still. And actually this figure seems to be pretty similar in color to this older custom colored camouflage T-Rex. Look at that, they're pretty similar. They both have a lot of the same colors. This is really cool. And instead of having them on the same team, I'm actually gonna put this one on the left team over here so they can face off against each other. Our next figure in this T-Rex versus T-Rex collection is this dark green T-Rex. And this one was actually not custom colored. This is how it came. And comparing the two colors, the custom colored green is a lot brighter than this green. And this T-Rex still has the button on the top of its head for the chomping action. Now let's put this T-Rex on the right team. Let's keep going here. Let's grab this one next. Here is another very natural colored T-Rex. Looks like it's a light gray color on the sides and dark brown on the top. I bet that this T-Rex would blend into rocks or a mountainside really well. Its body is fully posable and it has the button at the top of its head for the chomping action. And this T-Rex is gonna go over on the left team. I've got at least one more bright orange T-Rex figure. This figure is a little bit older. I think it might be from the Fallen Kingdom era. And like that super colossal figure in the back there, it has the bright orange body with the brown on top, and it features the chomping button. Let's move it on over to the right team. Here's another crazy looking custom colored T-Rex. And this figure is actually quite old. I believe it's from the first Jurassic World movie. I believe that this figure used to be a tan color, actually just like this figure right here. These two figures are basically identical, other than the coloring, of course. And they both got a button on the top of their back for a chomping action, although they don't work too well anymore. Now let's put them on opposing sides. The custom colored T-Rex is gonna go on the left team, and the original tan T-Rex is gonna go on the right team. I've actually got one more T-Rex figure from that same era. This figure is basically the exact same size, although it has different coloring, and this is actually how it came too. So it has the dark green on the body, but it has some reflective gold along the top, and then this interesting design running along its neck and its side too. But coolest of all, it actually has some hidden spikes on its back and its head, so that when you press the chomping action, its spikes spring out too. Now what side should this T-Rex go on? Let's have it go on the right team. Coming up next, we've got a smaller T-Rex figure, and this is actually a model T-Rex that wasn't made by Hasbro or Mattel. It features some brown coloring with the black stripes, and since it's a model, you can't actually move any body parts. And let's put this figure on the left team. This next figure is another model T-Rex, and it has some kind of tiger-like coloring with the orange-yellow body and then those black stripes right on top of that. Let's put this T-Rex model on the right team. Got a few more model T-Rexes in here. This one is a dark green with black striping, and on this model T-Rex, you can actually open and close its jaws. Now let's put this one on the left team right there. And here is one more model T-Rex figure. This one is also brown and black, pretty similar to this T-Rex right here, but it is quite a bit smaller, and on this figure, you can actually open and close its jaw too. Now let's have it go on the right team. Next, let's check out some Lego T-Rex figures. This first one is brown and bright orange. It features a fully posable body and a huge jaw. And this one's gonna go to the left team. Now let's grab that other Lego T-Rex figure that I have in here. This one is a lot darker brown. You can check out the color difference between the two right there. But in shape and size, they're pretty similar. Although I will point out that this one has white teeth, and the teeth on this figure are not colored at all. But nevertheless, let's set this one on the right team. And we're back to the figures made by Mattel. This is the Sound Surge Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. It's smaller than many of these other figures in here, but it has a button on the top of its back to activate the sound effects. Let's see if we have any more room for this T-Rex here. Now here's a wacky looking T-Rex figure. This is a Gujitsu Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it is actually licensed by Jurassic World, so this is an official figure. And the feature of this figure is that it's got a super squishy and super stretchy body. Check out this crazy stretching. All right, now I don't know that this figure is actually gonna stand up, but we're gonna place it on the left team here. I've also got a Funko Pop figure in here. This one is from Jurassic World Dominion, and I really like the all black eyes on this figure. Makes it look really scary. And we're gonna place this on the right team. Right here are some older figures, I believe once again from the first Jurassic World movie. This super bright one is actually a hybrid T-Rex. It is a hybrid with a Dilophosaurus, and it's got the bright neon orange and the reflective gold coloring on its body. So this one is pretty special. So let's place that on the left team right here and check out this other one that is very similar sized but not a hybrid T-Rex. So this is the original version, and it's got a little bit of battle damage right on the side. And let's place this right in front of the hybrid T-Rex on the right team. And finally, I've got some tiny T-Rex figures in here. Let's check all of these out. Looks like there's a couple Snap Squad figures in here. This first Snap Squad T-Rex is in the brown-orange coloring with the dark brown on the top. And let's place this on the right side. And then there's also this dark green Snap Squad T-Rex. And I think this T-Rex figure is actually pretty similar in color and design as this one way back there. Look at that, they're basically the same green color. Now let's put this one on the left side here. And for our final two, we've got this crazy looking T-Rex figure. This one's also quite a bit old, so the chomping action doesn't work anymore, sadly. But we'll go ahead and put it on the right team. And then finally, this miniature Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. It is all brown, although its eyes look to be painted black, which is a nice detail. And the underbelly is also painted a lighter tan color. And let's finally put this T-Rex on the left team. And so here is our entire versus battle. We've got the left team of T-Rexes over here versus the right team. Which side do you think would win in a battle? Let me know in the comments below. Let's get started with our first T-Rex. This is the classic Camp Cretaceous T-Rex, and is one of my favorites because of how realistic it looks when you move it. Next, let's grab our first raptor. Let's go with this huge Dino Trackers Endoraptor. This is actually one of the newest and most recent Endoraptor figures that Mattel has released. And there are the first two facing off. Let's get some more. Next up, let's go with the classic Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex figure. This figure is a whole lot darker than the Camp Cretaceous version, and it might actually be a little bit bigger. For our next raptor, why don't we go with this big one right here? I believe that this is Velociraptor Blue, and it actually has some pretty cool action features. You can press down on its body for a chomping action, and you can swivel it side to side as if it's walking. All right, let's set that up right in front of the huge Endoraptor. For our next T-Rex, let's go with the huge Stomp and Escape T-Rex. I think this might actually be from Camp Cretaceous as well. And it's got some pretty cool attack buttons. There's a button on its back for the roaring action. Plus, you can twist the tail for stomp sound effects. Let's see, we've got another big raptor in here. Let's go with this next Endoraptor. This is actually a pretty old figure. This is the Grab and Growl Endoraptor. And it's called that because it has a few features. First, you can use this button to move its arms. There's also a button on the bottom of its tail to chomp the jaw. And you can even use the tail to move the head around too. All right, let's put this one pretty close to the other Endoraptor figure. There, he'll be holding on to this little guy. Back to the T-Rexes. Let's grab this guy and see it is a battle damage T-Rex. Check that out right there on the side with a click of a button. You can reveal the battle damage. Plus, the rest of the body is posable as well. Now let's set this one down right next to the Camp Cretaceous T-Rex. And there they are facing off with the raptors. For our next raptor, we're gonna grab this one at the bottom. This is a Utah raptor from Jurassic Park. So this figure is pretty old and actually has a rubber skin texture as opposed to the hard plastic of all the rest of these. And you can even move the claws on its feet up and down. Let's set this one up right next to the Grab and Growl Endoraptor. On to our next T-Rex, we've got a few more huge ones in here. This one, I believe, is from Fallen Kingdom. And this one features a pretty cool chomping action when you move its tail. Check that out just by moving its tail down. And when you move its tail the other way, it actually has a roaring action. Let's see now, let's put this T-Rex right next to the Stomp and Escape. Back to the raptors, let's grab this little one. This is our first Atrociraptor of this collection. And this is actually a Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor. It is actually battery operated, and you can get it to walk around. Plus, it has some chomping and roaring sound effects. We're gonna set this one up towards the front because it is a bit shorter than the rest of them. Our next T-Rex is a battle damage T-Rex. You can see that it has some battle damage slashes on its chin and on its neck and on other parts of its body too. So it is a battle damage T-Rex like this one, but this one you can turn on and off, and this one is just painted on its body. And so we're gonna put it right next to the other battle damage T-Rex. Looks like we've got a few more Endoraptor figures in this collection. This one is from Fallen Kingdom, so it's pretty old, and it doesn't have any action buttons, but its whole body is very posable. So let's get them posed, and let's set them right next to the Utah Raptor. For to our next T-Rex, we've got a pretty wildly colored one. This one was actually custom colored. Plus, I believe this T-Rex is from the first Jurassic World movie, so you might have some trouble finding it now. Next, let's grab this Atrociraptor figure in the classic white with brown striping, just like in the movie. And this is a basic figure, so sadly there's no action buttons, but it still looks really cool. Let's set it down right next to the other Atrociraptor. Looks like we got one more big T-Rex here. This T-Rex is also from the first Jurassic World movie, so it is pretty old and probably pretty hard to find. And this version has the tan coloring. It's got some gray detailing along its face and the action button on its back for the jaws. All right, here is our final Endoraptor of the collection, I think. This is the basic version of the Endoraptor, so it's a whole lot less posable than many of these other figures right here. And it might actually be a little bit smaller. All right, it looks like it is in the sneaking pose. Check out that gold stripe that switches to a darker brown gold right along its tail. And let's set this up right beside these Atrociraptor figures. Now let's grab this T-Rex figure. This is actually a model T-Rex figure, not made by Mattel, but it still looks really ferocious, has some really cool texturing and color detailing too. And since it's a little bit smaller, let's set it up on the front lines right in front of the raptors. Over here, we've got a huge Velociraptor blue figure. And just like this Endoraptor figure that we see right here, this is the basic version of Velociraptor blue. So it's not super posable, but it still looks great. Let's set this up right behind the basic Endoraptor. We've got some crazy looking T-Rexes in here. This figure's a bit smaller than all the rest of the T-Rexes, but it still has some amazing coloring. Check out that texturing and the fading from the yellow to the green. Let's set this one down right behind the first model T-Rex figure. Back to our raptors, we've got another Velociraptor blue figure, but this one is from the Amber collection, so this one is super posable, and it's even got some glowing gold eyes. That's a really cool feature. So why don't we set this one up right next to the basic Velociraptor blue figure. Look at the differences in the coloring and the texturing compared to the basic version right here. On to our next T-Rex figure. We've got a blue and gold T-Rex figure right here, and it's even got some bright teal coloring right around its eyes too. I think this figure might be the smallest T-Rex yet, so let's set this one up right in front. Let's go ahead and grab these other two Amber collection Velociraptors. There's first Velociraptor Charlie in the bright green coloring with the striping along the top and a headpiece right behind its face. Let's set this raptor down right in front of the Amber collection Velociraptor blue. And then there's Velociraptor Echo in the brown and black coloring with the lighter underbelly. And so let's set this Velociraptor up right in front of the others. Looks like we've got a few small T-Rexes in here. This is an older figure from the first Jurassic World movie. It's got a little battle damage on the side and a tail that controls the mouth. Now this is a little itty bitty T-Rex, so we're gonna put it right up front. And here is our last raptor of this collection. It looks like it's an Atrociraptor in the white with brown striping, just like this basic version right here. And so we're gonna set it up right in front, really close to the other T-Rex. And here is our final dinosaur. This is a green T-Rex from the first Jurassic World movie. Just like the other miniature T-Rex that we see right here, it's got the battle damage on the side, and you can use the tail to open and close the mouth, as well as move the neck. So let's set this down right in front, next to the other T-Rex. But wait, I've actually got a surprise for you. I've actually bought some new stuff to show in this collection. This first one is a custom colored T-Rex that I just ordered off of eBay. This is my first time seeing it, and I love the attention to detail with the coloring. It really looks lifelike. Plus, it looks like there's a whole lot more battle damage than there normally was on this figure. That is really cool. And look at that, there's even some more battle damage on the other side. All right, that is super cool. I definitely want to be getting more custom painted T-Rexes. And let's not forget, for the raptor side, I just bought an uncaged Rowdy Roars Velociraptor beta figure. Now let's power it up and check it out. Just like the Rowdy Roar figure back there, there's a button at the top of the head. You get some chomping and sound effects. And you can also touch it underneath its chin to make it walk. The first special feature dinosaur is this massive Spinosaurus figure. This one is no longer being made and is actually really hard to find. And check out this huge battle damage on the side that you can open and press a button to spin it around. Next is another battle damaged dinosaur. This is the huge Allosaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's probably double the size of many of my other Allosaurus figures, and it also has the huge battle damage on the side. You can lift up the ribs, and its stomach underneath is pretty squishy. And in addition to that, it also has a button for some roar sound effects. Next up is this huge Dino Trackers Indominus Rex figure. It's a little smaller than my other iRex figures, but it's still quite large in comparison to these other figures. And it has the button on its tail for the awesome roar sound effects. Plus, it has green lights inside of its neck that glow when you press the attack button. I'm not sure you can see it in this lighting. Next is another battle damage dinosaur. This is a custom painted Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. It used to be a brown orange color, and now it is this super awesome camouflage green color. And right on its side is the battle damage that you can turn on and off. That is really cool. Here's a figure I'm sure you recognize from Jurassic World Dominion. This is a Therizinosaurus figure. And this figure's special features are you can use the tail to swing the torso back and forth, as well as press the button on its back for a chomping action. Next in the back here, we've got the Dino Trackers Regaliceratops. This is a bright yellow herbivore dinosaur, and this figure's special feature is this knob right on its back that you can use for the sound effects and head movement. Right over here, I've got the new Legacy Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. It comes in the dark green coloring with the yellow striping on the top, and this figure's special feature is a button at the top of its head for a massive chomping action. Next up is a battle damaged dinosaur figure. This is the Albertosaurus figure. It comes in the dark green coloring. It has the massive battle damage on its side with the squishy stomach, the ribs that you can close underneath it, and then the skin that you can close up to hide it completely. This crazy looking predator is the Indoraptor figure from the Dino Trackers series. And this figure has a few special features. The first is sound effects when you press on its arms. And there's also a button on its back for more sound effects and chomping. Up next is the Carnotaurus figure from the Epic Attack series. It's quite a large figure, and the special feature on this figure are these two buttons on its side. Both of them produce sound effects and lights. And not only that, but it also has a button on its back for chomping. Here is another battle damaged gigantic Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. I believe this one is from Camp Cretaceous. This one has the classic brown coloring with the bright battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off. Now here's an unusual dinosaur. This is actually from the first Jurassic World movie. This is a hybrid Tyrannosaurus Rex. And the special feature on this figure is actually these spikes that you can have pop out of its back and on the top of its head, kind of like a mohawk. In addition, that same button also activates the jaw for chomping. Here is an Allosaurus figure, a whole lot smaller than the battle damage one that I showed you earlier. It's got some tan and light blue and dark blue on its body, and the special features are two buttons on its back. The first operates its jaw, and the second button activates its claws. Next up is a figure from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. This is the Grab and Growl Indoraptor figure. And this figure has some pretty cool special features. First, the tail actually controls the whole torso, so you can move its head and its whole torso around in a really lifelike way. There's also a button on its tail to activate the claw slashing action, and a button underneath the tail to activate the jaw chomping action. Next, let's check out this brand new figure that I just bought. This is the Soundstrike's Baryonyx Grim figure. This figure has some classic brown coloring with some tan and dark green and light green in the back. Now let's see what the special features are. It looks like you can move the tail around to move the head and get some sound effects too. Next is the Dino Trackers Eocarcharia figure. This dinosaur has some pretty crazy coloring and texturing, and its special feature is this dial right on its back for chomping its jaw and sound effects. Next up is a Ceratosaurus figure in the dark green coloring. And this figure's special feature is this slide lever on its back for different sound effects and chomping poses. Next is the Rajasaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. This version comes in the light brown color, and its special feature is when you press down on its back, you get a chomping action and sound effects. Now we've got a winged dinosaur. Here is a Pteranodon figure, quite large from wingtip to wingtip. And this figure's special features is there's a button on its back to flap its wings with some sound effects, and a second button to open and close its mouth. This is a Scorpius Rex figure, I believe from Jurassic World Dominion. Comes in a bright orange color, and this one has the special feature that when you press down on its body, it gives a chomping action with sound effects. Here is another Baryonyx figure. This one looks pretty similar with the green, but it has some brown along the top and the top of its head, and it has a slide lever on its back for roar sound effects and different poses. And here's another Baryonyx figure. This one, I believe, is from Fallen Kingdom, and this one technically is also a battle damage one because it has some battle damage on its neck and on its leg, and it has a single button on its back for a chomping action. And now here is a massive Predator figure. This is a Scorpius Rex in the classic black coloring with the lighter underbelly. And this figure has a few different special features. The first is a spring-loaded tail, so you can swing that tail with the poisonous quills back and forth. And then there's a button on its back for a chomping and roar sound effects, and also a button for a clawing action. Next up is the super bright Ichthyovenator dinosaur. It's got a massive spine running down from its back all the way to its tail, and this figure's special feature is that when you press down on its body, it has a chomping action. The next special feature dinosaur is the Megaraptor from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got a bright red body with some dark blue in the front and some massive claws on its hand, and this figure's special feature is when you press down on the body, you get the chomping action. Right here I've got a Triceratops figure in the dark green and brown coloring. And there's two special features on this dinosaur. The first button activates a head ramming action, and the second button activates a tail swinging action. Next up is a Suchomimus figure in the bright yellow and brown coloring. And this figure has two special features. The first activates the chomping action, and the second activates a massive tail swinging action. Looks like I've got another Baryonyx in here. This one is gray colored with some bright blue along its head and right underneath its eyes. And this figure's special feature is the slide lever on its back for the different sound effects and poses. Now here's a crazy looking dinosaur. This is the Irritator. It's got some really cool coloring all over its body, and the special feature on this figure is this lever on its back for sound effects and some chomping action. Next up is a pretty special Ankylosaurus figure. It's pretty special because it actually has a shell that is removable to reveal the normal shell underneath. And not only that, but it actually has an attack feature that when you move its leg, it swings its tail back and forth, or moves its head back and forth. Next up is the Epic Attack Dilophosaurus figure, and the special feature on this figure is this button on the side that gives sound effects and light. And here's another Dilophosaurus figure, a whole lot smaller, but this one's special feature is when you press down on its tail, it activates the attack mode for the Dilophosaurus. Next up is a bright green Atrociraptor figure. I believe this one is from the Dino Trackers series. And this figure's special feature is a tiny button on its back used for moving its head up and down. And now it looks like we got a bunch of miniature battle damage dinosaurs in here. This first one is another Atrociraptor with the battle damage on the side right there that you can click on and off. There's also the Herrerasaurus figure in the green coloring, and this battle damage you can actually open and close by pushing it like that. Then there's this Velociraptor blue figure with that same type of battle damage on the side that you can push open and closed. And I've got two more in here, both unusual dinosaurs. This first one I believe is called a Suelurus or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but you can see the battle damage right there on the side that you can click on and off. And then there's this dinosaur whose name I actually can't remember, so let me know in the comments if you recognize what type of dinosaur it is. But right there on the side you can see that's where the battle damage is revealed. First up is this extremely rare battle damage Spinosaurus figure in the blue coloring with the battle damage on the side. Next, I've got the new Dino Trackers Indominus Rex figure, and this figure has a jaw-chomping action with sound effects. This is one of the largest Triceratops figures that I own, and this is also part of the Dino Trackers series. It comes in the brown body with some lighter detailing on the top and a huge 3 horns in the front. Next up is this Legacy Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. This one is also quite new. It has a really cool green body and the button at the top of the head for chomping the jaw. Over here is the Giganotosaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. This is one of the largest Giganotosauruses I have, and it has some really cool attack features. Look at that torso swinging action and a jaw chomping action too. Next up is the battle damage Allosaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. This figure is also quite large with the brown and dark blue coloring with the battle damage on the side, and you can even lift the ribs up to see the stomach underneath too. Over here is the new Dino Trackers T-Rex. This T-Rex is in the tan coloring with the yellow and gray detailing along the top. It's got this headpiece that it comes with and a really cool jaw-chomping action. And there's still a whole lot more T-Rexes in here. This next one is the Jurassic World Dominion Battle Damage T-Rex. Check out that battle damage right on the side. And here is a classic T-Rex. It comes in the soft brown coloring with the darker brown on top and the button on the head for the chomping action. And on to the next one. This is a custom colored T-Rex figure with the red on the bottom, and on the sides it has this amazing black with glowing orange coloring and then full black on the top. And of course the button on its head for chomping. Next up, I believe this one is called the Siamosaurus. It stands on 4 legs and is in the blue coloring with some red on its spine and on its face. Next up is this Suchomimus figure in the blue coloring with the brown detailing. And this one has 2 action buttons, one for a jaw-chomping action and the other for a tail-swinging action. Here is a Baryonyx figure in the light green coloring with dark green and brown accenting. And it has a slide lever action on its back for sound effects and chomping. This crazy looking dinosaur is called the Diabloceratops, and it's from the new Dino Trackers series. It's got a gigantic frill on the front of its head with 4 huge horns and a button on its back to swing its head back and forth. Here is the Dino Trackers Endoraptor figure with the reflective dark blue skin coloring over its whole body. It's still got the gold stripe on its side and a jaw-chomping action. This dinosaur is the new Epic Attack Carnotaurus. It has a jaw-chomping action on its back. But even cooler than that are these buttons on the side that give lights and sound effects when you press on them. This is the Hammond Collection Triceratops in the light brown coloring with the lighter underbelly and is super posable. Next up is the new Dino Trackers Nigersaurus figure. It has 2 different colors of green on it and a single action button on its back to swing its neck back and forth. This is a smaller Allosaurus figure with the gray and yellow coloring, and it has a single action button on its back for chomping its jaw. This dinosaur looks pretty similar, but is actually a Metriacanthosaurus dinosaur, and it comes in the yellow and green coloring with a single button for chomping its jaw. I've also got the new Irritator figure from Jurassic World. This dinosaur looks pretty crazy with this huge spine running even down its tail, and it has 1 action button for chomping its jaw. Here's another Endoraptor figure, but this one is actually from the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom series. So it's quite a bit older, but it still has the classic gold coloring along its side, and this figure is super posable with all of its limbs. Here's an herbivore dinosaur. This is an Ankylosaurus figure, and this is actually from the Hammond Collection. So it's quite a bit larger than many of the other Ankylosaurus figures I have, and it's much more detailed and a whole lot more posable. And these right here are 2 Cryolophosaurus figures. They are identical in size, but very different in color. There's this yellow one with a brown accenting, and then there's this blue one with some white accenting, but they've both got the bright orange crowns on their head. This is the Concavinator figure from the Hammond Collection. It's got some crazy coloring, some really interesting horns and humps on its body, and is super posable all over its body too. This Velociraptor figure here is quite old. This is from, I believe, the first Jurassic World movie and is made by Hasbro instead of Mattel. It's a super bright green Velociraptor and it has a battle damage button right on its side too. And you can even open and close its mouth. Here's another older Velociraptor figure, also made by Hasbro, but this one is in a much more normal brown coloring and is a bit more of a basic figure because you can't even open or close the mouth. This is a really cool dinosaur. This is the Baryonyx, and this figure has the reflective blue coloring along the top of its head and an action button on its back for the jaw chomping. This carnivore figure is the Siats Mikorero, and this dinosaur is pretty crazily colored and designed. Check out all those spikes on its back and on its head, and it has an action button on its tail to move the head around and chomp the jaw open and shut. This next dinosaur is a Ceratosaurus, and I believe this figure is from Camp Cretaceous, and it has a single slide lever action on its back for the sound effects and chomping. I think this little figure is actually quite rare. This is from the first Jurassic World movie made by Hasbro, and it is a hybrid Dilophosaurus and Tyrannosaurus Rex. Next up, from the new Dino Tracker series, this is an Orcoraptor. Check out those huge claws on its hand and a single action button on its back for chomping. This dark blue predator figure is called the Carcharodontosaurus, and this one I think is from Camp Cretaceous. Check out that orange and brown, and there's a single action button on its back for chomping. Here is another Suchomimus figure. This one though is in the dark blue coloring with the yellow accenting, and it has a single action button for chomping its jaw. This next Jurassic World figure is a Parasaurolophus, and this is an herbivore. It stands on 4 legs and it comes in the yellow with some purple and reflective pink coloring. Here is another Allosaurus figure. This one comes in the dark green coloring with the white and red accenting. Check out those little horns on its head and the slide lever action on its back for chomping and roaring. Here is the first Pteranodon of this 100 Dinos collection, and this one is pretty large. It's got some really cool bright orange coloring and some pretty decent detailing on its face and on its body too. This is another Ceratosaurus figure, but this one is really old, from the first Jurassic movie, once again made by Hasbro. Check out how different the design is. You can see that there's a battle damage button right there on its side, and the tail can open and shut the jaw. Here is a Pachycephalosaurus figure. It has some pretty natural looking coloring on its body, and the tail actually activates the headbutting action. And here is one of our first Atrociraptor figures of this 100 Dinos collection. Now this figure is in a crawling pose, so you can see that it's sneaking along the ground, but you can still adjust the jaw, the neck, and all of the limbs too. This next smaller figure is an earlier version of an Allosaurus from Jurassic World. It's got some super bright coloring and the tail that controls the neck and the head. Here is the Dimetrodon figure from Jurassic World Dominion, and this one has the battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off. I've also got a small Velociraptor figure here in this first bin. This one is in the yellow and brown coloring. And I've got another huge Pteranodon figure in here. Look at that huge wingspan and a super bright yellow head. And you can both flap its wings with the button and open and close its jaw. And this small figure is a Mosasaurus figure from the first Jurassic World movie, and it actually has some battle damage right on the side that you can open up to reveal its insides underneath. Next, we're going to be checking out this huge pack of Jurassic World mini dinosaurs. Let's check out all the dinosaurs that are in here. First up is the Giganotosaurus. Next is a T-Rex figure. Here is an Irritator figure, pretty similar to the one that I showed you. Here is a Pteranodon figure in brown and yellow. This one is a Stegosaurus figure in the dark green coloring. Here is a Concavinator figure, very similar to what I showed you earlier, but a lot larger. Here is a classic Ankylosaurus figure, a Triceratops figure, a Ceratosaurus figure. This is Velociraptor Blue, a Dilophosaurus figure with its frills out, the Pyroraptor, an Iguanodon figure, a Therizinosaurus with those massive claws on its hands. Here is the Lystrosaurus dinosaur, And then there's 4 Atrociraptor figures. This one has orange and brown striping. This one's in the classic white with brown striping. There's an orange one with tan striping all over, and a tan and white one with brown striping on the sides. And then finally, a teeny tiny little Gallimimus figure. Onto the second bin here, we've got a camouflage Indominus Rex figure, custom painted, and has a button on the tail for a huge jaw-chomping action. This dinosaur is the new 93 Jurassic Park Real Feel T-Rex, made to look just like the old version. And it even has a stomach compartment so you can actually feed it smaller dinosaurs. Next is the Legacy Collection Spinosaurus figure. This one is pretty hard to find, and it comes in the dark green coloring with the red spine and the red face. Now here is a huge Mosasaurus figure. This one was released pretty recently and is part of the Ocean Protector series. It comes in a dark blue coloring and it has some white specks all over its body, and you can open and close its jaw. Next is the classic Indominus Rex figure from Camp Cretaceous. It has 2 buttons, one for slashing the claws and one for chomping the jaw. This Spinosaurus is also from Camp Cretaceous, and it is in the tan coloring with the red spine and the red face. Plus it has the button for chomping its jaw. We saw a smaller Therizinosaurus earlier, and this one is much larger, and it has a few attack features. First, you can move its torso around, and there is a jaw-chomping action as well. This figure is the gigantic Dino Tracker's Stegosaurus. It comes with the backpack piece, and it has 2 action buttons. One swings the tail up and down, and the other button swings the tail side to side. Here is the Scorpius Rex figure from Camp Cretaceous. It has a jaw-chomping action and a claw-slashing action. Next up is the Tarbosaurus dinosaur with the bright red coloring underneath its chin and a jaw-chomping action on its tail. This is the Sarcosuchus dinosaur. It stands on 4 legs and has a button on its tail for chomping its jaw and moving its head around too. Here is the Grab and Growl Endoraptor from the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom series. You can use the tail to move the torso and the head around, as well as move the arms and chomp the jaw. Next up is a Sinoceratops figure in the green coloring with the huge horn and a bunch of mini horns on the top of its frill. I believe this dinosaur is called an Ichthyovenator. It has the brown coloring with the 2 tones of blue on the top of its body, and you can use the tail for the sound effects. Next up, I've got another Allosaurus figure in the tan and 2 tones of blue coloring, and there's 2 action buttons, one for chomping its jaw and the other for moving its arms. This is a new figure from the Dino Tracker series. This is the Regaloceratops, and it comes in a bright yellow coloring. It has some spikes along its back, and you can use the button on its back to swing its head back and forth. Here is a Parasaurolophus figure. I think this one might be from the Amber collection. It's pretty large, and it has some pretty cool coloring over its whole body. This carnivore is the Sound Surge Carnotaurus figure. It's all red, and you can activate the sound effects with the button on the top. Here is a Megaraptor figure from Jurassic World Dominion. Check out those huge claws on its arm, and it has a chomping action when you press down on its body. This dinosaur is the Albertosaurus from Camp Cretaceous. It comes in the green body with the orange stripe running down its side, and you can use the tail to move its head around and chomp its jaw. Here is the Hammond Collection Baryonyx figure. You can see a little bit of blue reflective coloring underneath its eye, and it is fully posable all over its body. Here is a basic figure edition of the Atrociraptor in the white coloring with the brown stripes. This is an Iguanodon figure from Jurassic World Dominion, and it activates the sound effects when you press down on its body. Here is another gigantic Pteranodon figure with different coloring. This one's a much darker orange coloring, and it has some brown accenting on its wings, and it comes with sound effects too. Here's another older Ceratosaurus figure. This one is the brown colored with the orange accenting on the top of its back and a single action button for chomping its jaw. I've got a few Dilophosaurus figures in here. This first and smallest one is the brightest green in color. It has some bright yellow on its frills. There's also this darker green colored Dilophosaurus, a lot more red in its frill. And this is the Epic Attack Dilophosaurus. You can't actually open and close the frill, but on the side is that button for the light and sound effects. Up next is the miniature battle-damaged Triceratops in the green coloring, and I've got another similar dinosaur right here. This is a Zuniceratops. You can see there's only 2 horns on its head, and it has an action button to move its head up and down. And here's a big handful more of raptor figures in here. This first one is a light green Velociraptor. It almost has a blue-green color to it. There's also this miniature Hammond Collection Velociraptor. You can see that it is a whole lot more posable than many of these other figures. Then I have this bright teal Velociraptor with spring-loaded legs, so you can actually launch it into the air, which is pretty cool. There's also this miniature, I believe it's from Hammond Collection, raptor figure. It's got a stripe down the side and some really cool coloring on its face. And then finally, another Atrociraptor figure with that classic white coloring and the brown stripes. Next, I've got a miniature Indominus Rex figure from the first Jurassic World movie. It's a whole lot smaller, it has some battle damage on the side, and you can control the head and the neck. And there's also this Rugops Primus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It has some really cool feather texturing all over its body. And I've got some more winged figures in here. These two right here are Pteranodons with very different coloring. You can see this one's a dark blue. It actually has some battle damage on the top of its body that you can turn on and off. This other Pteranodon's more of a tan coloring, has a little bit of yellow on its face. And this winged dinosaur is actually a Dimorphodon. Its head shape is totally different, and it is a little bit smaller than the Pteranodons, I think. Next, I've got 2 Monoophosaurus figures in here. This one is in a dark blue coloring with some lighter accenting, and then this one's much brighter with an orange-pink coloring. And both of them are decently posable. You can move all of their limbs and open and close their jaws too. Next up is a Herrerasaurus figure in the gray-blue coloring with the white striping right along the top. And it looks like you can open and close its jaw too. And then finally are these last 3 herbivore dinosaurs. This first one is a Stygimoloch, and it has a really cool headbutting action. Next up is a Brachiosaurus, or actually a juvenile Brachiosaurus, so it's a whole lot smaller. And then a Gallimimus figure, super skinny and probably super fast in real life.
Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.